In this video, I'm going to go over the best shooting badges for shooting builds in the current gen version of NBA 2K21. For the sake of this video, I'm going to classify a shooting build as a build that gets at least an 83-point rating. The reason for this is because you're not really going to see that big of a difference in your shooting until you play on a build that has at least an 83-point rating. Now, if you have a build that doesn't have an 83-point rating, I plan on making another video going over the best shooting badges for non-shooting builds on current gen in the near future. So make sure you're subscribed with post notifications on, that way you'll be one of the first to know when that video drops. Also, if you guys want to see a video where I give recommendations on the exact badge layout you should have depending on your specific build, let me know in the comment section down below, and if enough people ask for it, that'll be one of my next videos. Now, when it comes to the best shooting badges on current gen, the first one I want to go over is flexible release. This badge is going to give you a boost to slightly mistimed jump shots, and of course, the higher you have this badge, the bigger that boost is going to be. For example, let's say you have this badge on Hall of Fame and you mistime one of your jump shots. So instead of getting a green release, you end up getting a slightly early, but you notice that the shot still goes in anyway. That's because this badge on Hall of Fame is going to give you an additional 10% boost on those slightly early releases. As you can see, even if you only have this badge on gold, you're still going to be getting a 9% boost on those open slightly early shots. Having this badge on Hall of Fame will also give you a 7% boost to your slightly late releases. And even though the badge says it'll help with those poorly timed releases, you'll still get up to a 2% increase to your shot percentage when timing in the center of the green window. This badge is going to reduce those penalties you get for mistiming your jump shot, and this is going to make it a lot easier for you to knock down those slightly early and slightly late releases. Flexible release also gives you a much bigger boost than it did last year in 2K20, and this makes it a much more viable option for those mistimed jumpers. If you have enough badge upgrades, I'd recommend having this badge on at least gold, but if you have enough to go up to Hall of Fame, definitely give that a try. The next badge I want to go over is DEADEYE. This badge essentially reduces the impact of a defender who's closing out late. Not only will you receive less of a penalty from late shot contests, but this is also going to be applicable for all jump shots. So this means mid-range shots as well as three-point shots. I guess an easier way to think of this is if someone is closing out late, the higher you have this badge, the lower the contest percentage is going to be on your shot feedback, which in turn is going to lead to more made shots. For example, according to NBA 2K Toots, having this badge on Hall of Fame is going to give you roughly a 5% increase to your shot percentage when compared to no shot at all. Even if you only have this badge on gold, you'll still be getting over a 4% increase to those shots where the defender is closing out late. This means that if you have a primary ball handler, a spot up shooter, or really any other build that plans on shooting the ball, this badge is a necessity. As you gradually increase the badge level, your player is going to become more quote unquote immune to late shot contests, which means you won't be missing as many shots. This is why I recommend having this badge on at least gold. It's also worth noting that the jump from silver to gold is actually the biggest jump we see within levels from this particular badge. So if you're looking to save an extra badge point, you'll actually see the biggest difference by having this on gold, but again, this badge is still very effective at Hall of Fame. The next badge I want to go over is catch and shoot. This badge might not be the most useful for play shots or really any other primary ball handler, but if you're a spot up shooter, this badge is a must have. Catch and shoot is going to give you a boost to every shot attempt taken right after you catch the ball. According to NBA 2K Lab, if you time your jump shot correctly and you have catch and shoot on Hall of Fame, you'll receive anywhere from a 5 to 10% boost in your make percentage. In my opinion, if you have a shooting build, you want to make sure you have this badge on the highest level possible, especially if you take a lot of those catch and shoot shots over the course of a game. So once again, if you have an off-ball shooting build, make sure catch and shoot is on either gold or Hall of Fame, whichever one is the highest tier for your particular build. The next badge I want to go over is HOTZONE Hunter. This badge is going to give you a boost to every shot attempt taken in the player's favorite spots, aka your hot zones. Now, if you don't know how to find your hot zones for your particular player, once you load up into the neighborhood, simply press the options button to bring up this menu, head over to stats, scroll over to where it says player stats, click on the right stick to bring up your player card, and then here we're going to click R2 or right trigger until we get to the section that shows our player's hot zones. Here you can see your neutral zones, which will be gray, your cold zones, which will be blue, in this case I don't have any, and finally your hot zones, which will be highlighted in red. Now, in order to find out where your hot zones are in game, as soon as you have the ball, you want to look at the arrows below your player's feet. If they're white, that means you're currently standing in a neutral zone. If they're blue, that means you're in a cold zone. And finally, if they're red, that means you're in a hot zone. If you have this badge equipped and you're taking shots in these red hot zone areas, you'll get an additional boost to your make percentage. For example, if you have a 93-point rating and you time your jump shot correctly, you'll get an additional 10% boost to your shot percentage just by having this badge on Hall of Fame and shooting in these hot zone areas. And again, that's if you time it correctly. Let's say you get a slightly early, now that 10% boost you get for shooting in your hot zones with this badge equipped on Hall of Fame is going to jump to 15%. And if you get a slightly late, it'll still be a 10% increase to your shot percentage. Regardless of how many badges your shooting build can get, you want to make sure that you first get those hot zones, of course, and just like catch and shoot, you want to make sure this badge is on the highest level possible in order to improve your player's shooting ability. This is another one of those badges where even if you can only get it up to gold, it'll still be very serviceable for knocking down shots around the perimeter. Before we get into the last badge I recommend for shooting builds, I do want to give a few honorable mentions. If you have less than 20 shooting badges, I wouldn't really recommend using some of the ones I'm about to go over. But if you have more than 20 shooting badges, these are some pretty good options to spend those remaining points on. So the first honorable mention is going to go to corner specialist. This badge is essentially going to give you a boost to every shot attempt taken in the corner. So for example, if you're taking shots in the corner and you're right at the edge of that green window, just by having this badge on gold, you'll be getting almost a 10% boost to your make percentage, and that's going to jump to almost a 13% increase on Hall of Fame. Believe it or not, this badge actually gives one of the biggest boosts to your shooting in the game. The only reason why I don't recommend it over some of the other badges I mentioned is because it's pretty situational. If you're a play shot and you're primarily working at the top of the key, this badge might be a little bit of a waste because you're not going to be taking too many shots from the corner anyway. That's why if you have less than 20 shooting badges, I recommend going with some of the other ones I mentioned. But if you have a stretch or you're someone like me and you take a lot of shots from the corner, you should absolutely have this badge equipped on at least gold, especially if you have more than 20 shooting badges. Another badge I'd recommend using if you have some remaining points is Green Machine. For those of you that don't know, this badge activates after consecutive green releases. So for example, if I get 2 back-to-back green releases in a row, on that third shot attempt, this badge is going to activate and increase the chances of me getting another green release. With this badge on Hall of Fame, you can expect up to a 6% increase in your green percentage when compared to not having the badge at all. Now, the reason why I didn't put this badge in the top 5 is because if you're a park player, specifically 3v3, you may not get a ton of opportunities to see the full potential of this badge. That's because, again, it's only going to start to activate on your third shot attempt, and that's assuming that your first 2 attempts were green releases as well. Just like with all the other honorable mentions, I'd only recommend using this badge if you have more than 20 shooting badges. Volume Shooter is another pretty good badge to have, especially if you're like me and you take a lot of shots over the course of the game. And for all you park players out there, Hot Start can also be a pretty viable option for you. Alright, so the last badge I want to talk about is Range Extender. This badge is going to increase or extend the range at which your player can consistently shoot from. So a good way to think of this is the higher you have this badge, the further away from the basket your player can consistently knock down shots. Despite 2K coming out and saying that this badge helps with deep 2s, based on various testing, it's clear that this badge has the biggest impact on deep 3s. If you have a 93-point rating and you're shooting limitless 3s in the center of your green window, you have about a 16% chance of making that shot without this badge. Just by spending 4 badge upgrades and equipping Range Extender on Hall of Fame, you now have an 80% chance of knocking down that same shot. That's a 64% increase in exchange for 4 shooting badge upgrades. Even if you time your jump shot early instead of in the center of the green window, you'll have a 15% chance of making that shot without the badge and 65% with it on Hall of Fame. So again, that's a 50% increase on the same shot, and you don't even have to be timing it perfectly. In my opinion, this is why Range Extender is the most important shooting badge for 2K21 current gen. In fact, when you're grinding for your shooting badges, this should be the first one you max out because it's basically going to open up a lot of opportunities for your player to knock down down threes. Regardless of how many badge points your build gets, this badge should absolutely be on any build that plans on shooting the ball, because again, I think it's the best in the game. Like I mentioned before, if you guys want to see a video where I give recommendations on the exact badge layout you should have depending on your build, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll also be gathering some data and doing this same video on next gen in the near future, so definitely be on the lookout for that as well. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also turn on post notifications to know exactly when the next video is uploaded. Alright, I'm out.